What is going on, everybody? Been a diehard Pistons fan since 2003 and starting to have a lot of fun watching this basketball team. The Detroit Pistons are creeping up on the playoffs very quickly, and a lot has changed in the past couple weeks as far as the playoff picture goes. I made a video a few weeks back talking through these playoff scenarios, but so much has changed in that amount of time that I wanted to make a new video kind of discussing each potential matchup. And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk through these matchups in order from most likely to happen to least likely to happen, and then kind of analyze and talk about what I think the Pistons' chances in these individual first round series would be. So, as of today, the Detroit Pistons are now in the 5th seed. They were able to leapfrog the Bucks. They are a half a game up on the Bucks, and they're 2 games back from the Pacers in the 4th seed. If the season was to end today, the Pistons would be playing the Pacers in the first round matchup, and I think that this is very likely to happen, especially because the Bucks are now without Damian Lillard for the remainder of the year. So the first series that we're going to talk about is a potential matchup between the Pistons and Pacers. When I made this video a couple weeks ago, I said that the Pacers is the team that I wanted to see the most in the first round, but I have definitely changed my mind on that for a few different reasons. Number one is the fact that the Pacers have been playing absolutely incredible over the past couple weeks. Pains me to say, because obviously being a Pistons fan, not a big fan of the Indiana Pacers, but they have won 8 of their last 12, 8 of their last 10 actually, and they've just been rolling through teams at a pretty crazy clip. Last night, they scored 160 some points in a game without even going into overtime, and they are definitely peaking right now as a basketball team. They seem to be fully healthy. I haven't seen Halliburton or Siakam or too many of their main guys at all missing time whatsoever, and they have just been playing really good basketball, and as well as anybody in the East for the most part over the last couple weeks. Do I think that the Pistons could still beat them? Absolutely, no question about it. I think that they could go toe-to-toe with these guys, but I think the one thing that could potentially help us out a lot in that situation is if we were able to leapfrog them and take that 4th seed and get home court advantage. I think that having this series being played first 2 games at home and a potential game 7 in Detroit would go a really long way and probably tilt the advantage towards us. However, that is going to be really, really tough to do because as of today, we are 2 games back from the Pacers, and they have won 8 of their last 10, like I said. So there's probably not a very great chance that the Pistons will be able to leapfrog them. What it would take is the Pistons to not only win a good portion of these last 9 games, but it would also take the Indiana Pacers to slow down and start to lose a couple games, because if they finish their season at the same rate that they've been playing from a win-loss perspective, it's going to be almost impossible for us to take that 4th seed from them. Again, totally possible, but the one thing that does leave me optimistic about this is I truly believe that in a Pistons-Pacers first-round matchup, Cade Cunningham would be the best player on the floor. A lot of times, as simple as it is, sometimes series come down to just simply that. What team has the best player? And I do think that Cade Cunningham would be the best player in this. The one thing that probably doesn't bode well is the fact that we are 1-3 against them in the regular season. A lot of those games were played at the beginning of the year, and a lot has changed for us since then, but a lot has changed with them as well, and they've been playing better too. So no longer my favorite matchup to see in the first round, but something that I think we could definitely win given the opportunity, and getting that 4th seed I think would really kind of help me believe even more in the Pistons potentially winning. So the next likely situation would be for the Pistons to drop back down into the 6th seed and play the Knicks as a 3rd seed. Right now, the Pacers are 2.5 games back from that 3rd seed, so I think the Knicks will probably remain there, but there's a real world where the Bucks manage to continue to win games without Lillard and leapfrog us back, and the Pistons are back where we were a couple weeks ago in the 6th seed, looking down the barrel of the New York Knicks. The thing that has changed in the past 2 weeks since I talked about this last is Jalen Brunson has not played. He has been out with an ankle injury for about 2 to 3 weeks now, And I think that that really helps the Pistons' prospects of potentially beating the Knicks in the first round. Everybody knows that Tibbs, the New York Knicks coach, runs his guys into the ground, and I think that they're already starting to see the repercussions of that before they even get to the playoffs. Let's say Jalen Brunson does come back today, which I don't think he's scheduled to, but just for the sake of arguing, let's say he comes back today. That gives Jalen Brunson, 8 games to get back into the flow of things to be ready for the playoffs, and that's probably a fair bit of time for him to be able to get back right before then. But let's say he isn't able to come back for another week or two. Now we're talking about Brunson having 1 or 2 games to get back into the groove and get back acclimated, and I think that that could help the Pistons a lot. Right now, the Knicks don't have a ton of depth without Jalen Brunson. They're kind of relying on guys like Miles McBride and Cam Payne to give them minutes, and I think that the Knicks are always one injury away from being incredibly beatable. Another thing that I do like about this potential matchup is the fact that outside of their wings, their defense is not great whatsoever. Brunson, not a good defender, especially if he's halfway hurt. Karl-Anthony Towns, not a great defender. Mitchell Robinson is now back, but they've been kind of weird with his minutes and not really sure how that fit works with Karl-Anthony Towns anyways. When the Pistons played the Knicks during the regular season, they actually beat them more than they lost to them, and they did not want to send bodies at Cade whatsoever, and Cade was able to take their wing defenders like Mikal Bridges and OG one-on-one and cook them. So there's a lot more of a feeling that I have now than I did a couple weeks ago that I would almost prefer the Pistons to play the Knicks than play the Pacers. Getting on the big stage in Madison Square Garden, I think would be a really, really good opportunity for these young guys to show us what they're made of. And I honestly do feel that way, that I would rather play the Knicks than the Pacers at this point. Right now, the Knicks have been 5-5 in their last 10, of course, without Brunson. The Pacers, as I mentioned, have been 8-2 in their last 10. And I think that the Pacers are just a more solid team with more depth than the Knicks. So I think I've changed my mind, and I would much rather actually stay in that 6th seed than go up to 5 and play the Pacers. But of course, I would never be the type of guy to encourage intentionally losing to get to that point. But if that's how the cookie crumbles, I think I'd rather see the Knicks. And then lastly, talk briefly about the Bucks, but I don't think that there's any real world where the Pistons could match up with them in the first round, because what it would take is the Pacers to spiral completely out of control and for the Pistons and Bucks to both leapfrog the Pacers. Considering that the Pacers have won 8 of their last 10, as we've spoken about, and the Bucks are now without Damian Lillard, I really don't think that there's a possibility that the Bucks make up that 2.5 game difference and we make up the 2 game difference and end up in the 4th seed and 5th seed. But if they were to play against the Bucks in the first round and that were to happen, I think that it's pretty obvious that our chances did become a lot better without Damian Lillard. But Giannis Antetokounmpo is still Giannis, and that would still be an incredibly tough matchup because the Pistons have really never shown that they've been able to stop Giannis. Seems like over the past 3 or 4 years, every single time we played the Bucks, Giannis is able to do whatever Giannis wants. So even without Lillard, I don't really want to see that matchup, but I don't think we'll have to anyways, so I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on it. So overall, main takeaway here is that I think the Pistons are going to end up playing the Pacers in the first round. I'm pretty open to that series and feel pretty good about it. But if we bounce back to the 6th seed and have to play the Knicks, I'm just as optimistic, if not more optimistic, that the Pistons could get that one done. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll catch up soon.